Today we are going to be talking about holistic planned grazing. We're live here at Heifer Ranch in Perryville, Arkansas. My name is Tyler Pearson. I'm a program officer with our team at Heifer USA. I'm joined by Donna Kilpatrick, our ranch manager and land steward for Heifer Ranch. And Donna is a newly accredited Savory professional.
Yes.
And we are super excited about her accomplishments there and what that means for Heifer Ranch. And she's going to tell you a little bit more about that. Throughout the broadcast, if you have questions and you're watching with us live, you can type them in the live chat and we will do our best to answer as many of those as we can. And if you're watching the recorded version of this live stream, just type your comments down or your questions down in the comments and we'll get back to you later. So today we're going to talk about holistic planned grazing, why we use it, how we got started using it, what it means for our enterprises here, what we're trying to accomplish. So we're really excited about today's topic. We hope you are too. Keep the questions coming. We want this to be a conversation. And the cows don't want to be a part of it, do they? They just want to get on out of here. They'll come eventually, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff to show you. So I'm going to turn it over to Donna, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what it means to be an accredited Savory professional, what the ranch's goals are with the Savory Institute in the future, and just a little bit of our history about how we got started with all of this. So,
all right.
Donna.
Yeah, hey everybody. Welcome to our pastures today. The cows should be in here. They're actually being moved, but I was bringing over the mineral feeder and it got caught on the poly wire and broke it. So they've gone over to get water, but we might try to call them and have them come over. I'm sure they will. The other day I was talking to somebody about our steers and I said, our steers are like a herd of yellow Labrador puppies. They're just so good and so well behaved, so I feel confident they'll come back and join us. So interest in Savory. So I really think I've always been interested in Alan Savory's work and his work to end desertification. I think that, with climate change, we're seeing more and more of that. And as I came onto Heifer Ranch 3 years ago, and the ranch had been in a different phase of its life, which really focused around educating people about Heifer International. And one thing that was very abundant was that, or abundantly aware for me, was that, the work we were doing was really good, but if we were going to focus on agriculture, we needed to focus on the ecosystem health. And we hadn't been paying that much attention to soil health, to pasture diversity and forage. Always, animal welfare is our top priority, but in terms of the ecosystem, our water cycles, energy flow, which is photosynthesis from the sun, which helps plants to grow, community dynamics between plants and between animals. And in this case, because we are a social enterprise, when I think of community dynamics, I also think about the people. So just really thinking about those ecosystem functions and how we can better them. When we decided to scale up agriculture, one thing that I knew that we would have to do is to scale up, you have to have the forage to feed the animals. It's got to be diverse forage, rich soils, all of those things that really help livestock thrive. And that's when I thought, this place, since we are an educational facility and are really, we talk about our, in holistic management, we often talk about the North Star, like what are our big goals? What's our aim? What will we die for, here at the ranch? And really for us, it's about training farmers and raising livestock to support grassroots. So in order to do that, I felt like we really needed to join forces with Savory, and we embarked upon, the journey of me taking classes and attending a 10-day, Ellen and I attended a 10-day program at White Oak Pastures in Bluffton, Georgia. And then I took a very intensive online class during COVID that I would have taken in person, but, COVID. So that's how it goes, and then you do an oral exam at the end. And once you're an accredited professional, you're equipped and able to teach holistic management, which includes 3 planning programs. and that's holistic land management, holistic planned grazing, and holistic financial planning. So anyone that wants to come and learn about those things can come here. They could also go to the Savory. If you're not from this eco-region, you could definitely go to Savory's Savory's website, and look and see where the other hubs are. So a lot of hubs offer classes. As well, at the end, I think I'll show you a couple of books that you can pick up on Amazon or through a Savory hub or through the Savory website, where you can really get a jump start about learning about holistic management.
Okay. So we're going to talk about, why holistic planned grazing. We gave you a little bit of an intro about the Savory Institute, about Donna being an accredited professional, what you can do with the Savory Institute, taking a course. But we want to get into, why we did that and why holistic planned grazing is the method that we're working to implement here at the ranch. We're going to talk a little bit about, keeping your soil healthy and happy. We're going to talk about overgrazing and the impacts of overgrazing, a couple of times when you can overgraze and get away with it. In this section, we're going to talk a lot about, just all the different things that you have to take into account for holistic planned grazing. Your life, the ranch life, the animal's life, the weather, the forage, just so many things, and about why that's so important. So if you have questions, just in general, about the Savory Institute, get them in the chat. And as we're talking about Savory Institute, or about holistic planned grazing, just feel free to ask away on those. So Donna, I'm going to turn it over to you, and let's talk a little bit about why we chose holistic planned grazing for Heifer Ranch. What is it going to do for us and our pastures here?
Yeah, well, since we've been asked to scale up our livestock enterprises, we have to have the forage to support those livestock. With our soils depleted the way they were 3 years ago and the way that we're working towards getting them better, 3 years ago, there wasn't the forage capacity to support the number of livestock that we were thinking about, either cow-calf operation or steers, or we have lots of other enterprises, one being our sheep enterprise, which is also a ruminant animal, so they're also foraging. So in order to scale up, and also just because with climate change, and as part of Heifer International's mission to care for the earth, it was the right thing for us to do. It's within our context that we look at a management system that is really going to focus on soil health, ecosystem health, plant diversity, water cycles, energy flow, all of those things that make an ecosystem super strong and resilient. So that's really how it started. And I would say the first thing is just learning about holistic management, which is a decision-making, it's a way to make decisions based on your context, based on your mission, your North Star, what you most want out of life. So, here at Heifer Ranch, our context within livestock is to raise super healthy animals profitably, to train farmers, to have a good quality of life within the staff, to have wonderful animal husbandry, and to just enjoy the beauty of this place. So with that holistic management, in terms of how we manage the pastures, how we manage the animals, grazing in this manner just makes sense.
Did you mention the history of the ranch and how it had been leased and everything?
Yeah, so I did briefly, but for the last 30 years, we've leased out a lot of this land. I think this is a very interesting picture where we are right now, because this pasture to the left where the cattle are was leased out for many, many years, like 30 years, with not a lot of oversight and management. And it was continuously grazed with cattle, and hay was taken off of it. So that's not the type of, now that have increased our production and we're really looking at ecosystem health, that's not a management decision we would make, is to manage the land in that way, because that's not a system that's really conducive to building soil, to building microbes in the soil, to allowing aeration of the soil for rainwater to stay in the soil and help plants to grow, that kind of thing.
Awesome, awesome. So it's working out for us. It's working out for the livestock. Keeps them happy and healthy. You know, you talked about this place being leased out and being overgrazed.
Yeah.
Talk about the overgrazing and
Yeah.
the difference between, you know, overgrazing, animal impact.
Yeah.
And just let's talk about overgrazing.
Sure. Yeah, overgrazing. Well, there are three basic times that you can overgraze your pastures. One of those, I should have brought water. I'm dying. Sorry. One of those being if you leave your animals too long. So what we want to do here is have the animals come into paddocks and take a bite of grass and move on to another plant. Take a bite of grass, move on, and then the next day they move. So we basically move our animals every day. Some of the paddocks are set up for multiple days, but mostly it's every day we set up a temporary fence and they move. So you can overgraze by leaving your animals on too long. Another time you can overgraze is by bringing your animals back too fast. So what you want to see is full plant recovery. For our ecoregion, we've estimated that to be super safe, even in the you know, when we're having a flush of grass growth like right now. I mean, you look out and you see seed heads, which drives me nuts, like because I can't keep on top of it and graze them fast enough. But yeah, so bringing it back too soon. So we have a 30 to 45 day window depending on the growth season. Gotcha. So when the grass is growing fast, you want to move your animals fast. When the grass is growing more slowly, which you see here because we're in a very non-brittle leaning environment with lots of more humidity in the environment, and it gets hot here, super hot. And in the summer, everything gets in a slump, like it's just so hot. So the growth dies down, and during that period, you want to slow your animals down.
So we actually we have a pretty good example here of a pasture that's been grazed.
Yep.
And then we're standing in the new paddock where it hasn't been grazed. You want to check them out with us and maybe show folks a little bit?
I just walked through here when I was going to get the salt mineral feeder, and I'm actually, you know, right around the gate. That's someplace you always want to look. You know, when you were asleep last night, were your animals standing and bellowing at the fence? This is not too much. I feel okay about that. But when you get in here, this is really nice. So they've grazed. When you get out into the pasture, like right here, you can see that the forage has been trampled down. But when you look down, you don't see any bare ground. And that's one thing that's super important with soil health is keeping it covered. You know, you just like if you have a terrible cut on your arm, you want to keep it covered. Lots of, you know, bad things can happen if you don't. So, yeah, this is nice and trampled, no bare ground that I can see. In terms of, in Savory, we do something called ecological monitoring. And one of the things that we look at is how closely the plants are spaced together at the soil level. And I did look at it this morning, and you know, I mean, this is buttercup is not ideal, you know, and it's definitely a sign of compacted soil. But I'd rather have buttercup and have all this biomass covering up the soil.
Yeah, you really got to dig.
I mean,
to get
look
down
at
there,
this.
don't
This
you?
is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're on the right track for sure.
And you can see over here about how much they've taken off the top of these, right?
Yep.
I mean that's pretty good. And then there's still plenty though, like you said, to cover the bare soil.
Yeah. We, you know, there's all these things like take half, leave half. I'm more, as I'm training my eye to look for this and look for keeping the soil covered and looking for, you know, a well grazed pasture, I think it's really more like take 40 and leave 60 because of our context, because of what we're trying to do, which is build the soil quality. So we want to, I mean, basically we want to be stockpiling all the time. We think about stockpiling for winter, and in the past we might have isolated 4 pastures to be designated stockpile pastures. You know, it's a little bit of a paradigm shift for me in thinking, because I'm trying to stockpile everything, not only for winter, but what about planning for drought? What about planning for floods? What about all of those things? And I don't think we've talked about it yet, but you know, the grazing chart, when I looked at the Savory grazing chart, and knowing my organizational skills or lack thereof, or, you know, I was just like, whoa, this looks really daunting. What I have found is that it's not daunting. It's actually easy. It's actually really fun. Like, I love it. And it gives you peace of mind. You know, last year we definitely rotationally grazed. We tried to manage our grazing to ensure that we weren't having any overgrazing, but we're human and nature is very, very complex. And when you have all these variables going on, it's really a benefit to have a grazing chart that you can sit down in the winter, in the off season. Next year I'm going to do it at Christmas, because I feel like it's been such a gift, you know, to have peace of mind, to know that generally this is where we're going. And a grazing chart isn't set in stone, and isn't set, it's not a legal contract. You know, it's like, this is what I think we're going to do based on the number of animals we have and the amount of land, and the pasture quality that we know from historically from working the land.
Let me pause you right there and jump in here. So Donna's talking about the grazing chart, and we are going to show you toward the end of this live stream about a 5-minute video that we put together last week that showcases the grazing chart. So we keep the grazing chart in our office. It's not in the pastures, but we really wanted to show you what it looks like, how we use it, a little bit of the information that we capture there. So keep watching this live stream or this recorded video, and stay tuned till the end. We're going to show you that video, and we're going to talk a little bit more about grazing charts and answer your questions. For now, we talked about this pasture that they've been in. Why don't we go check out the one that they haven't been in and just show, you know, what it looks like, how long it's rested. Think they'll come back, or what are you thinking?
I think they'll come back.
Yeah, we'll see. If you guys want to join us, we're over here.
I can call them if you want.
Yeah, if you want to.
Okay,
I'll show them the pastures, and you can call the cows, okay? So she's going to try to get the herd to join us. Nope. And I'm going to show you this pasture that has been resting for at least 30 days, probably more. And just show you the difference between what you saw over there and what it looks like here after a full rest period and full recovery. So you can see the clover is full, it's lush. I mean, it's up to my wrist. In some places it's up to my shins. A lot of these grasses are well over 2 foot tall, and there's a lot of delicious forage here for the cows, and they usually follow Donna's ATV. So we're going to show you also her fencing rig that she uses on her ATV, and that'll come up here pretty soon when she gets back, and talk about some of the equipment and infrastructure that we use as part of our Holistic Planned Grazing system. And that's going to be things like the ATV, the temporary fencing systems that we use, some of the temporary waterers that we use, the mineral feeders. We've got examples of all of that to show you. We've got some books, the video at the end where we're going to talk about the grazing chart also. So lots of more good stuff coming up, and hopefully the cows are starting to join us. They're starting to come. So like I said, they usually listen for the sound of her ATV, and when they hear that, they'll come running. And we actually got a little clip of a video, just real short, of what it looks like when the cows get ready to move. You'll see it live here in just a second. But right now, we're going to play you this short little 18-second clip of how excited the cows get when they get ready to move. So Kennedy, if you want to go ahead and cue that move video up and show people how excited they get. Okay. Let me know when it's over. Okay. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that. Just a little special thing we wanted to show you, because they'll get a move on. Sorry, I shouldn't have done that. And they really enjoy moving from paddock to paddock. They get really excited. They're following Donna now, and they're coming this way. So they're gonna join us, and we're gonna watch them snack in this beautiful lush pasture behind me here. And we're gonna make our way over. So if you got any questions about why use holistic planned grazing, please get those in the chat, or just let us know if you're using it. Let us know if you have done Savory courses and what it's meant to you and your farm. If you have questions about Savory, get those in. I'm going to check the live chat now and see if we got anything. Okay. We do have a good question. It's coming in from Alyssa Noble. Alyssa wants to know, let's see, about the field over there that we just showed folks. Was it seeded at any point in history, recent history, I suppose? And do you use irrigation?
Yeah, really, really good questions. So this field has not been seeded, not to my knowledge. So these are just perennial warm seasons, cool seasons, and the warm seasons are slowly coming in. Ooh, so are the cows. We might want to step out of the way. But what I think is, I don't know if you talked about this while I was calling the cows, but this field that we're standing in right now has had cover crops planted in it. If you watched any of our live streams from last summer, or have seen any of the pictures with the cows with all the beautiful sunflowers in it, that was this field. And I think it's absolutely shocking to look at it, you know, up the hill or in this pasture, compared to the field next to it that is just full of buttercup and broom sedge. So broom sedge is an indicator of, some people call it poverty grass because it's such an indicator of poor soil quality. I did plant cover seeds in that pasture and they didn't germinate. They did a little bit, but nothing like this pasture, which really took off. And I think that, you know, from the cover crops that we've planted, and here are beautiful steers.
All right, yeah, look at them move. We showed a video clip earlier of them moving. They are like, I want to be first in line. Look at this one. Hey. They're excited, aren't they?
But in terms of the history, do I know if that's ever been planted at anything? I just don't think so, because that wasn't the focus. It wasn't what we were working on. You know, when we were when we were focused on teaching about, you know, General Heifer International and our work throughout the world.
So did you talk about irrigation?
Oh, no, I didn't, sorry.
So yeah, that was the second part of Alyssa's question, wants to know what we do for irrigation.
Yeah, we don't irrigate because we don't have overhead irrigation systems, because we're in quite a non-brittle environment with lots of humidity, lots of steady rainfall, not just occasional that you might see in a brittle environment.
Yeah, I mean, we're surrounded by a river.
Yeah, we're surrounded
folks can't see it, but just beyond that tree line is the Fouche-Lafargue River. So it's pretty wet here sometimes.
But we do have, if you see those blue pipes sticking up out of the ground, we do have quick connects that are all over the ranch, where we can set up temporary fences and move water tanks and click into those systems so we have water almost anywhere on the ranch.
So we're getting into our next topic, infrastructure and equipment. And I know you got some over here.
Yeah, I'd love to show you guys some new stuff.
Okay, so we're going to walk over there and get ready to show you guys some of that. If you got any more questions about why holistic planned grazing or our setup here or our herd, be happy to talk to you about those. Was there anything else we want to talk about why holistic planned grazing? I know we talked about overgrazing, the times you can overgrazing, grazing versus animal impact.
Yeah. So in Savory, we talk about tools to manage the ecosystem. Animal impact and grazing are actually two different tools. So with the impact, we're talking about the impact of the hooves, and not just walking, but you know, when you think about the predator-prey connection and relationship, you know, bison weren't just strolling along as wolves were at their heels. So that impact of moving quickly. And we can, you know, it's fine for them, like running in, like they just did, that was awesome. Mm-hmm. That's great impact. You can use tools to make that impact. You can get, alfalfa cubes and coax them along and train them to run across the field. Also impact would be, well, definitely the manure, the urine, all of those things that need to go into the soil. And then grazing, when I think about grazing, it's really, grazing is a tool for what is below the surface of the soil. So grazing is affecting the root systems. So how we graze has everything to do with the length of the roots, water infiltration. It's just such a key component. So if we were to severely graze that pasture, which is nowhere near severely grazed, we'd be really impacting the roots. And sometimes I wish we had a glass that we could just, you know, look at those root systems, because we want them just as diverse as we want our forage.
Yeah. So we do have another question coming in from Michelle Elder about holistic management, and she's talking about something specific here. She mentioned the bullseye monitoring technique. Is that something you're familiar with yet, or that we use here?
I don't know if she's talking, if that would be in ecological, you know, testing, if that's what she's talking about.
So Michelle,
so
if
there's two systems to look at your ecosystem health. One is, I'm wondering if she's talking about the one where you throw a dart over your head. I'm not sure.
Let me just ask her, if you can give us a little bit more context about what you mean, we might be able to answer your question. So in the meantime, let's jump over here and look at all of your fancy equipment here. I know you got some cool stuff to show people here.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll see me driving around on a gator. As I've started setting up more and more fencing by myself and wanting to do it more efficiently, I got an ATV used, you know, not very expensive, to be honest with you, and it's less weight on the pasture, so for the soil compaction, you know, using an ATV. My gator's actually huge. I do a lot of tours. It's got 2 seats. You know, it's a big thing. This is a lot smaller, a lot more agile. But I saw this system online and contacted the guy that makes it, and I'm absolutely in love with it. So for setting up fences, the person that, I forgot his name, but he runs a company called Livewire Fence Supply.
Let me show that here.
Yeah.
So people know. So this is the company that made all this stuff, Livewire Fence Supply.
Yeah.
Cool.
And he made the rack, and then the holder for your poly reel.
Okay.
So basically, the way it works is I can ride along through. So just imagine that your poly wire's running out here. I'm running a fence this way. I can drive along and take my post, sitting side saddle, connect it, stick it in the ground, and never stop. So this is a really quick way to set up fencing. These posts are Gallagher posts. They're called pigtail posts. This would be perfect for cattle if you're doing what we're going to talk a little bit about leader follower grazing, which is I would say we're doing that about 75% of the time here this year, which is, you know, we always have said we follow our cows with our sheep, but not in a systematic way. So this year we're really focusing on getting those 2 animals through, and we chart them out together until we get to a situation like we're sending our cows to the pines. There's way too many predators in the pines who are going to eat our lambs. So then we have, you know, pastures that we've set aside where our sheep go. Then we bring them back together.
Right.
So when you've got the 2 species together, then we switch and we use. Oh, it's over here. We switch and we use this type of step-in post.
Gotcha.
Because right now we're training our sheep to go to 1 wire, but even so, that pigtail post is too tall.
Yeah.
Our lambs would walk right under it.
So for the sheep, we use those posts because we can get the double wires up on them.
Correct.
Yeah, and you can't put them in the rack here, but you can stack them all up on the front or the back. Gotcha.
Yeah, so the baskets are amazing, and they're from Amazon. They're about $100 a piece. And then I've never really used that much Gallagher stuff before, but almost everything on this is Gallagher, and this is their new reel, which I just love. I mean, it's so smooth, the gears on it.
And this is a Gallagher reel, right?
Yeah. And then it just sits down in here. and then you clip it into your fence behind you. You take off.
And one person can set up a lot of fence in no time.
One person can set up a ton of fence.
Okay, so we do have some more information about the bullseye monitoring technique, and actually Savory Institute stepped in and answered the question for us. So thank you, whoever from Savory is watching. And I'm going to just tell Donna, so you're right, it is part of ecological monitoring, but it's largely been replaced with more scientifically robust methods, so that's why it's not really on our radar that much.
See, I didn't learn about that class. You guys had already removed
that. Thank you guys very much. So we do have another great question. Let me see. This is from Michelle Elder about monitoring our progress toward increasing soil health and diversity, and that's actually what we were just talking about, ecological outcome verification, right?
Yeah.
It's a big topic, but maybe touch on it just a little bit.
Sure. I mean, we do the basics. We take soil tests every year. We send it to Ward Labs, the Haney soil health test, and we have it evaluated. So we started that. Well, it's not. We don't do it every year. We've done it once, and we just took samples again, and I'm getting ready to send them out. But what we're going to do through Savory is called Ecological Outcome Verification Program, and they'll send out a master verifier to our farm, and they'll do, I think it's 3 or 4 days of testing, so we can get our baseline. And I'll also be trained at that point to do less robust ecological outcome verification. It takes about 5 years, I believe, to become a master verifier, which is a goal. I'm really interested in this. I'd love to do that. Yeah, so and
folks
then
can take a Savory course or get a Savory verifier to come out and help them with that. Is that right?
That is correct.
Gotcha.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
So that's on the docket. We've been emailing about having, it got slowed down a little bit because of COVID. Nobody was traveling.
Yeah. So that's a great question. Michelle, thank you very much for asking it. There's a lot more we can say. If you need some follow-ups, just email us at heiferusa@heifer.org. We'll drop that in the chat for you so you have it.
Yeah. Can I add one thing?
Yeah, please.
So one criticism of holistic management is there's not enough scientific data to prove that it works. And I would really point people to Savory's website, where they have a science library with white papers. They did a conversation, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago with Dr. Richard Teague from AT&T University.
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M, thank you.
Yep.
And it was a fantastic talk. So there is a lot of research out there showing that this works. And it does build soil, and it does create better ecosystems, more healthy, vibrant ecosystems.
Absolutely. Okay, we had one question come in from, let's see, WS 2018 about fencing, and they want to know if we're doing back fencing alongside these temporary fences.
Back fencing in terms of permanent fencing?
I would assume so.
Yeah,
so let's answer that, and if they have a follow-up, they can type it in the chat.
Yeah, so most of our big paddocks do have permanent fencing around them. Now, the quality of that fencing might be debatable and how bulletproof it is, but there is fencing, permanent fencing, and some of it's barbed wire, some of it's woven wire, some of it's probably spit and baling twine. But yes, there is fencing. We use the poly wire within those to break up big, pastures into the paddock sizes that we want.
Awesome, cool. So we showed folks the ATV. We talked about the stakes and the poly wire. So if you got any follow-up questions about the ATV here, we'll answer those. But let's jump over to the other two pieces of equipment we got here, because we still got a few more things to talk about. But this stuff's really awesome and interesting. So what do you got here?
Yeah, so this is our mineral tub. So we filled this mineral tub. I guess Lizzie filled it up. Lizzie's one of our volunteers who's here. She's actually at Greg Judy's grazing school right now, so I hope she's having a great time.
Cool.
But she filled it up before she left, and they haven't really put, well, they have. They put some dent in it, but there's a lot of salt and mineral left. And during this time of year, with the cool season clover that's just really booming right now, we want to make sure that our cows really prefer grasses. They will eat forbs. And so, the clover is great for cattle. They love it. But it sometimes will give them bloat. So the magnesium in this salt and mineral mix is good for that. We haven't had any bloat at all
Gotcha.
We also haven't had any pink eye, which I was a little bit concerned about with, you know, I usually would go in and clip the pastures. I don't think I've been on the tractor this year.
Nice.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So eventually I will have to clip them a little bit, but I mean, this is radically different management than before.
So you got the mineral feeder.
Yep.
Let's go over this last piece. We got the temporary waterer
Yeah.
that you're moving around over here.
Yeah, so this pasture, I just brought this for you all to see. This pasture actually has a permanent water that they can get to. But if I were in a remote area, we would use this. It actually is not big enough for we need 2 of these for the number of cows that we have. So there are 102 steers in this group. Yeah, we'd want 2 of these, especially with the weather getting so hot. Maybe even 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cows drink a ton of water.
All right, so we've covered some of the equipment that we wanted to show you today. If you got any questions about the equipment, let us know. Donna, we've got about 20 minutes left before our scheduled stop time. I know we want to show the grazing chart that we put together, the video. It's about 5 minutes, and save some time at the end to talk about the grazing chart. Anything else you want to talk about equipment before we maybe jump into the next topic? Which I think we're going to talk about, you know, how to get started with holistic planned grazing, where to take a course, you know, what you can do on your farm, get started with the Savory Institute, stuff like that.
The only thing that I was going to say sort of leads into that topic, and that is this live stream was not intended to teach you how to holistically graze your pastures. That's a course. We would love for you to come to Heifer Ranch, but there are lots of other Savory hubs around that offer courses as well. It's probably makes the most sense for you to take a course within your eco-region. So if you live in California, you know, there's a wonderful Savory hub there. So there's also one right here, so we'd love to have you.
Awesome.
But really, I guess the main thing that I want to get across is that with holistic management, it's really, I mean, basically, you know, it sounds like it's this big, complex thing, which it is because you're managing complexity, but the goal of it is to help facilitate and ease that complexity by a very clear decision-making process that you go through, and defining what is, you know, what is it, what's your North Star, what is it that you want your life to be like, what is it that you want future generations' lives to be like, and then to always be working towards that context. So yeah, it's a wonderful way to think about things. And I can tell you that since I've taken the course and really been, you know, doing a lot of work with this and thinking about this and listening to other holistic managers, people that practice holistic management, it brings quite a bit of calm and purpose, I would say, and clarity. You know, and I think that that's really wonderful. And I think, you know, our holistic planned grazing chart is not perfect. It wasn't meant to be perfect. I think it's really important for people to, if they want to manage holistically in a grazing situation, to start somewhere. Just chart it out. Do it. Just do it. It might seem a little bit daunting. Just do it. It's not, you know, you're not held to it, but it is a guidance.
Well, talking about the grazing chart, that we have a video that I mentioned that we're going to show you, and we're going to show you that in just a second. And it's going to give you a lot of this information that Donna's talking about and give you a visual to go along with it. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the grazing chart and holistic planned grazing and how we utilize it all to manage not just the herd but our lives as well and our work-life balance. So check out this video all about the grazing chart and how we're using it here at Heifer Ranch.
Okay, hey everybody. So I want to take a second and show you all our grazing chart. So during the winter, when things are a little bit slower, we take some time and really think about how we want to graze our animals the next year, always thinking ahead and about what our overall context is, what are our main goals. So here at the ranch in our livestock department, our main goals are to raise super healthy animals that have a market with Grassroots Farmers Cooperative, to restore our natural environment, so really looking at ecosystem health. Another thing that we're really working on is to look at things like work-life balance and employee health and employee satisfaction. So that plays in here too. So your grazing chart is not only just plotting out the moves for the animals, but you're really taking into consideration ecosystem health, the environment's health, economic health, and then social aspects of it. You know, it really does help with the complexities of farming. So when you're working with nature and you're working with the ecosystem, lots of things happen. When you're working with livestock on the ecosystem, within an ecosystem, there's just so many moving parts that you can't always control. But sitting down and planning ahead, knowing that your goal is to get that rest, which is vital for the health of the soil and for the forage, is really critical. So this grazing chart is planned on a 30 to 45 day rest. So we grazed pasture 20 on, the cattle went into pasture 20 on March the 26th. The sheep went in on the 27th. We're not going to come back to that for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, almost more than 30 days. So that's really important, and it holds us accountable to give the soil and the pasture a rest. And with that rest, we're going to see a lot more soil health, soil biodiversity, more microbes in the soil, and we're already seeing it. Ideally, one way that you can make your grazing planning more efficient is to combine herds. So we've, historically had some cows here and some cows here, and the sheep are here. And what we're really, really trying to do is get everybody tight and bunched up and mobbed and moving together during the flush of grass, when there's lots of forage for them to eat, have them go on it and move quickly. So just telling you that so you'll know, we're using a leader-follower system, and the purple blocks are for cattle and the yellow blocks are for sheep. One thing we learned very early on is that we've never put our sheep and our cattle together, and our livestock guardian dogs were a huge hindrance. So they very much enjoyed chasing the steers around, which is counterproductive when you're trying to put weight on steers. So what we then did is go back in and to try to rectify the situation, because we moved so quickly and we didn't have a long time to fix this, is to always put a buffer zone or one move buffer between the sheep and the cows. And also the social component in a grazing chart, like putting in, the first thing here is my vacation. So knowing that I'm going to be out from this date to this date, and we want to make our work doable and so that it's not stressful. So where do we want to put the cows and the sheep while that I'm on vacation, so it's easier for the person that's here moving the animals? So, just looking at this chart, it looks a little bit overwhelming, but I can tell you that it adds almost a sense of calm to coming in, to know where your animals are going to be. Also, plotting out this grazing chart doesn't mean you're locked in stone. This is a guide, and you should do your first one and see how it goes and follow it and then amend it every year. For example, you don't start in the same place every year. So you're not going to just duplicate this year after year. This is, test number 1. How did it do? How did the pastures do? How does the soil look? How do the animals look? How do the people feel? Okay, let's make some tweaks and do another one the next year. So if you decide to go to one of the Savory hubs and take a course on holistic planned grazing, we'll teach you how to fill out this chart. It's actually super fun. Like, I love working on the chart. I was a little bit intimidated at first, but now that we're working the chart and it provides so much ease and clarity, I really enjoy it. We've always tracked our moves before, but never in a way like this. I would love to be able to teach you all how to do this. So please, consider taking a course either at Heifer Ranch in the future or one of the other Savory hubs. I think it's a really, really valuable tool, a planning process that brings peace of mind and really holds you accountable to giving those pastures the needed rest that they deserve. Okay, everybody, hope you enjoyed the video. if you want to learn how to actually fill out that grazing chart, figure out your animal days per acre, all of that kind of thing, take a course. But it's also in these books. So you can pick up Holistic Management course book, and then the workbook from Amazon, from the Savory Institute, and from some of the hubs. Sell them as well. Also wanted to point out, I found that the Savory short courses that are available online were a really great resource for me, in addition to the, whole big class that I took. But you can print out ebooks from that course, which are really valuable. I go back to these all the time. So, yeah.
Cool. All right. So those are the resources. We talked about the grazing chart. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you have any questions, we can try to answer. We're getting toward the end of the broadcast. Thanks everyone so much for sticking around, for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed your time digitally out here at Heifer Ranch, hanging out with us and hanging out with Donna. Always a great time. Always a learning experience for me. Hope that you felt the same. We are going to talk a little bit about future opportunities. There was something else?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
Just like future.
Yeah.
So just letting people know that as an accredited professional with the Savory Institute, we have plans to start offering. We're going to start just with holistic planned grazing probably for this year, and then move into holistic financial planning, and then bring in holistic land management. So first courses that we're going to offer will be that holistic grazing course. We don't know when that's going to be, but in the near future.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so lots more to come from Heifer USA and Heifer Ranch in terms of working with the Savory Institute. And we are up here. While you were watching that video, we magically teleported to the top of the hill, and just wanted to come and hang out with the herd a little bit, and maybe just show them the herd and talk about it. We didn't really talk about the herd very much.
Yeah, this is 103 steers. About 64 of them will be processed this year. We have maybe 5, 6 that are hitting 900 pounds. Our target live weight is 1,100 pounds. So they're coming along, and I think they look really good. One thing that we always say with holistic planned grazing is what you want to do is get your animals to the right place at the right time with the right behavior. And I think what we saw today was actually indicative of the right behavior. If they had been starving,
happiness,
if they had been, overgrazing that pasture and hungry, they would have been. They saw me sitting on my ATV and they didn't bellow once. They went the other direction, so they were completely content, heads down, grazing. That's the kind of behavior you want to see.
Awesome, cool. All right, well, I'm gonna see if we got any last-minute questions. I see we're putting the link tree. So yeah, if you're watching the recorded version of this and you're thinking, man, I wish I saw the live version so I could have been a part of that conversation, we'll put a link in the description of this video so you can sign up for our email newsletter. If this is your first time joining us live here at Heifer Ranch, check out that Linktree link and sign up to our newsletter. Subscribe to our YouTube page and you won't miss a thing that we do. You'll be notified well in advance of our future live streams. We live stream on all types of stuff, not just holistic planned grazing, not just our cattle enterprise. We also run a forested woodlot pork operation. We do pastured poultry here at Heifer Ranch. That includes chickens and turkeys. We have a 3-acre certified organic market garden, a residential volunteer training program. There's just so much going on here at Heifer Ranch in Perryville, Arkansas. So if you're just joining us, thanks for being a part of this community. Subscribe to our YouTube page, check out some of our videos, and sign up to that newsletter so you won't miss what we're doing in the future. Thanks to the Savory Institute for joining us also for part of this live stream. Donna, thank you very much for your time. Cows, thank you very much for deciding to show up and hang out with us. For anybody else who wants to hang around for just a minute or two, I'm going to go walk amongst the cows and show you them up close while they snack a little bit, and then we'll sign off in just a minute. So for our team, bye everybody.